The mind is everything. What you think, you become. The Buddha. Pause for a moment and reflect on this. If your mind is filled with negativity, your life will be clouded with worries, anxieties, and suffering. But if your mind is filled with wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness, peace naturally follows. Welcome to Inner Stillness, a space where we explore Buddhist wisdom and apply it to our daily lives. Today, we'll be diving into a topic that many of us struggle with: how to stop thinking negative thoughts. Have you ever laid in bed at night, trying to sleep, but your mind won't stop racing with worries? Or felt exhausted from battling the same negative thoughts over and over again? If so, you are not alone. No matter how successful or intelligent we are, we all experience negative thinking at some point. But why does this happen? Think of your mind as a garden. If you don't take care of it, weeds will grow. Negative thoughts are like weeds. They appear, take root, and spread if we don't know how to manage them. In Buddhism, we often compare the mind to a flowing river. It never stops moving. But not all waters in this river are clear. Some thoughts bring peace, while others are like polluted waters, filled with negativity and suffering. So, how do we purify this river? How do we remove negative thoughts and replace them with clarity and serenity? That's exactly what we'll explore today. But before we go deeper, let me ask you a question. Do you often find yourself trapped in negative thinking? If your answer is yes, I invite you to take a moment to comment below and share a situation where negative thinking has affected you. Don't be shy, this is a safe space. I personally read every comment and will reply with insights to help you overcome your struggles. Modern science estimates that we have about 60,000 thoughts per day. But here's the concerning part: 80% of those thoughts are negative. And 95% are the same thoughts as yesterday. Have you noticed this in your own life? Does your mind replay the same worries, the same fears, and the same regrets over and over again? Buddhism describes this restless state as the monkey mind, a mind that jumps around uncontrollably. Like a monkey leaping from tree to tree. If we don't learn how to calm it, it will drag us into endless suffering. But here's the good news. Negative thoughts are not permanent. They do not define who you are. They are just passing clouds in the vast sky of your consciousness. And that sky, your true nature, is far more peaceful and expansive than you realize. In the next part of this talk, we will explore an important truth: your thoughts are not you. Negative thinking does not define your true self. But before we move forward, I have a small challenge for you. Pause this video now and comment one keyword related to how to stop thinking negative thoughts. Why am I asking you to do this? Because when you write something down, you reinforce your intention to change. You are telling yourself, I am ready to let go of negative thinking. So, what will your keyword be? Here are some ideas. I want to stop negative thoughts. Letting go of negativity. Peaceful mind. Peaceful life. Choose one that resonates with you. And write it in the comments now. If I am not my thoughts, then who am I? That is what we will uncover next. Stay with me. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. Think about this for a moment. In the last part of our talk, we discussed how negative thoughts are like passing clouds in the vast sky of your consciousness. They come and go, but the sky itself remains untouched, vast, and limitless. If thoughts are just fleeting visitors, then the question arises, who are you? Really? Buddhism teaches that our thoughts are not our true self. They are conditioned responses, shaped by our past experiences, our environment, and the beliefs we have accumulated over time. The Buddha called this samskara, mental formations that arise due to past conditioning. When you identify with every thought that appears, you become trapped in an illusion, mistaking temporary mental activity for your permanent self. Imagine sitting by a river, watching the water flow. The ripples and waves on the surface are like your thoughts, constantly changing. Sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, but you are not the ripples. You are the one sitting on the shore, observing them. The key to inner peace is learning to be the observer, not the prisoner of your thoughts. But why do we become so attached to these thoughts? Why do negative patterns keep repeating in our minds? The Buddha explained that our suffering is rooted in attachment and aversion. We cling to what we desire, and we resist what we dislike. When a negative thought arises, we either fight against it, trying to push it away, or we indulge in it, allowing it to take over our mind. Either way, we become entangled in it. The way out is non-attachment. Just as a mirror reflects whatever appears in front of it without clinging to the image, our mind can learn to witness thoughts without getting caught up in them. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, observing thoughts as they are, without judgment, without resistance. But I know what you might be thinking. That sounds great in theory. But how do I actually practice it? Don't worry. We are going to explore that in the next part of this talk. I will share with you simple yet powerful Buddhist techniques that will help you break free from the cycle of negative thinking. For now, I want you to reflect on this. If you are not your thoughts, then what part of you is truly real? What part of you remains unchanged, even as thoughts and emotions constantly shift? Take a deep breath and let that question settle. And before we continue, I have a request for you. Pause this video and comment one Buddhist keyword that resonates with this topic. It could be something like mindfulness, let go, be the observer. Why am I asking you to do this? Because writing down a word helps reinforce the lesson in your mind. It's a small but powerful step toward shifting your awareness. So take a moment, type your chosen word in the comments, and when you're ready, let's move forward to discover the tools that will help you transform your mind. Three things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. The Buddha. We have uncovered an important truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. But if that's the case, why do these negative patterns keep returning? Why do some thoughts feel impossible to let go of, no matter how much we try? Let's look deeper. At the core of negative thinking are the three poisons: greed, lobha, hatred, dosa, and delusion, moha. These are the forces that cloud our mind, causing suffering and keeping us trapped in repetitive cycles of negativity. Greed doesn't just mean wanting material things. It also means clinging to desires, wanting things to be different, wishing life were easier, craving validation from others. Every "I should have" or "I must have" thought is rooted in attachment. Hatred is not just about anger toward others. It is also the self-criticism we carry, the resentment we hold on to, the grudges that poison our hearts. Every time we think, "I am not good enough," or "they don't respect me," we are feeding this poison. And then, there is delusion, the false belief that our thoughts are absolute truths. We believe the mind's stories without questioning them. We identify with our suffering, thinking it is who we are, rather than something temporary, something passing. But here's something powerful to remember. These poisons are not who you are. They are habits of the mind, and habits can be changed. So how do we break free? It starts with awareness. The moment you recognize these poisons operating within you, you take away their power. Instead of reacting blindly, you step back and observe. You start seeing the pattern, and in seeing, you begin to loosen their grip. Now, I want you to reflect for a moment. Which of these poisons affects you the most? Is it attachment, always wanting things to be a certain way? Is it anger, holding on to resentment? Or is it delusion, getting lost in your own thoughts, believing they define you? Before we move forward, I want you to pause for a moment and type one of these three words in the comments: attachment, anger, or delusion. Why? Because bringing awareness to what holds you back is the first step toward letting go. When you write it down, you are acknowledging it, not as something that defines you, but as something you can change. Once you've done that, let's continue, because in the next part, we'll talk about the antidotes, the exact Buddhist practices that will help you dissolve these poisons and free your mind from negativity. I promise you, what comes next will change the way you see your thoughts forever. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. The Buddha. We've uncovered the roots of negative thinking, the poisons of attachment, anger, and delusion, but knowing is only the first step. Now, we need to go further. How do we free ourselves? How do we transform our mind so that negativity no longer controls us? Buddhism offers powerful tools to break this cycle. And the first one is mindfulness, sati. When a negative thought arises, what do we usually do? We react, we resist it, fight it, or indulge in it. But mindfulness teaches us another way. Simply observe. Imagine sitting by a river and watching leaves float by. Your thoughts are those leaves. You don't need to grab them. You don't need to push them away. You just notice them. The moment you observe a thought without judging it, something shifts. It no longer has the same power over you. You start to see it for what it is, just a passing cloud in the sky of your awareness. Another key practice is right view, samadhi. Negative thoughts often feel absolute. I am not good enough. Things will never change. But these are just stories the mind tells. Right view helps us challenge these stories. Instead of accepting every thought as truth, we ask, is this really true? Is this thought helpful? Then, there is metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation. Negativity thrives in an environment of self-criticism. The antidote? Compassion toward yourself and others. When negative thoughts arise, replace them with words of kindness. May I be happy. May I be at peace. May I be free from suffering. It may feel strange at first, but over time, this simple practice rewires your brain. It softens your heart. It clears the storm inside. Now, I want you to take a moment and reflect. Which of these practices speaks to you the most? Is it mindfulness, learning to observe your thoughts without attachment? Is it right view, questioning the truth of your thoughts? Or is it loving kindness, replacing negativity with compassion? Before we move on, I ask you to pause and type one of these words in the comments. Mindfulness, right view, or loving kindness. Why? Because choosing one practice, just one, is a commitment to change. It's you telling yourself, I am ready to let go. And in the next part, we will go even deeper. We'll explore how to integrate these practices into daily life in a way that is simple, natural, and effortless. So take a deep breath, write your word, and let's continue. Peace comes from within, do not seek it without. The Buddha, you now have the tools, mindfulness, right view, and loving kindness, but knowledge alone isn't enough. A key question remains. How do we bring these practices into daily life? How do we make them a natural part of who we are? Rather than just ideas we hear and forget? The answer is simple, small, consistent actions. Let's start with mindfulness. Many people think mindfulness is something separate from daily life, something that requires sitting in meditation for hours. But that's not true. Mindfulness can be practiced in the smallest of moments. When you wake up, instead of rushing to check your phone or thinking about all the things you have to do, pause, feel your breath, notice the sensation of the air moving in and out. Just one conscious breath in the morning can set the tone for the entire day. When you eat, instead of letting your mind wander, taste your food, be fully present with the act of eating. Notice the texture, the flavors, the warmth or coolness of the food. Something as simple as drinking tea or coffee can be a powerful mindfulness practice when you fully experience it, rather than mindlessly consuming it while thinking about 100 other things. When you walk, instead of rushing to your next destination, be aware of each step. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Let each step be a meditation, an anchor to the present moment. You don't need extra time for this. You don't need to change your schedule. You only need to bring awareness into what you are already doing. And then there are thoughts. Negative thoughts don't need to be fought. You don't need to struggle with them. Just watch them. When a thought arises, notice it, label it if you need to. This is a thought of fear. This is a thought of doubt. This is a thought of anger. Then, let it pass, like watching a cloud drift across the sky. The more you practice this, the more you will realize that thoughts have no real power over you, unless you hold on to them. Now let's talk about right view. How do we integrate it into daily life? The easiest way is to challenge your thoughts. The next time you hear that voice in your head say, I'm not good enough, stop and ask, is that really true? Is this a universal fact, or just a belief I have carried for years? What about when someone treats you unfairly? Instead of immediately reacting, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, what is actually happening here? Am I seeing the full picture, or only my interpretation of it? Right view means training yourself to see things clearly, without the lens of personal bias, past conditioning, or fleeting emotions. It means understanding that things are not always as they appear in the mind. Loving kindness, metta, is one of the most transformative practices. But many people struggle with it. Why? Because it feels unnatural at first. We are not used to sending love to ourselves. If anything, we are our own worst critics. But here's the truth. If you cannot be kind to yourself, you will struggle to be truly kind to others. Before bed, try this. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and say to yourself, may I be happy. May I be at peace. May I be free from suffering. Even if your mind resists, even if it feels strange, do it anyway. It's like watering a seed. At first, you won't see much, but over time, something beautiful will grow. If you find yourself holding onto resentment toward someone, try this. Picture them in your mind, and instead of replaying old stories about them, say, may they be happy. May they be at peace. May they be free from suffering. You don't have to force yourself to feel kindness immediately. Just say the words. Over time, they will start to soften the sharp edges of your heart. Now, take a moment to reflect. What is one small action you can take today to bring these practices into your life? Maybe it's starting your morning with mindfulness. Maybe it's questioning just one negative thought. Maybe it's practicing loving kindness, even if only for a few seconds. Before we move to the final part of this journey, I ask you to pause and comment one word that represents your commitment: presence, awareness, or peace. Why? Because writing it down turns intention into action. It's your way of saying, I choose to change, I choose peace. And in the last part of this talk, we will bring everything together. How do we sustain this transformation? How do we make sure negative thinking doesn't return and take over? The answer is waiting. Let's take the final step together. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. The Buddha. Over the past few moments, we have explored how negative thoughts arise, how they trap us, and how Buddhist wisdom offers a way out. But knowledge alone is not enough. Transformation only happens when wisdom turns into action. So now, let's talk about how you can sustain this transformation. Think about this. Imagine planting a seed. If you water it once and then forget about it, will it grow? No, it will dry up. Your mind works the same way. A single moment of mindfulness, a single act of loving kindness, or one effort to change your perspective is powerful, but consistency is what makes true change happen. The first step in sustaining your transformation is building a habit of mindfulness. Start small. Instead of setting unrealistic expectations, begin with just one conscious breath every morning. Just one. When you wake up, before doing anything else, take a deep breath and bring awareness to it. This single breath is a reminder that you are here, in this moment, not lost in the past or the future. Mindfulness is not just about meditation. It is about how you live. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you speak, be fully present in the conversation. When you listen, listen deeply, without thinking of what you'll say next. There is a Zen saying, when you walk, walk. When you eat, eat. This means giving your full attention to whatever you are doing. Even something as simple as washing dishes can be a meditation, feeling the warmth of the water, the sensation of your hands moving. When you live this way, your entire life becomes a meditation. The second step is choosing your response to thoughts. Negative thoughts will still come. That is the nature of the mind. But now, you know that you have a choice. You do not have to believe every thought that arises. Most of the suffering caused by negative thinking is not from the thoughts themselves, but from our reaction to them. Imagine your mind is like a fire, and negative thoughts are sparks. If you pour fuel on the fire, by believing the thoughts, engaging with them, and replaying them, it grows bigger. But if you simply observe, without reacting, the spark dies out on its own. The next time a thought arises, instead of getting lost in it, step back and watch it. Say to yourself, this is just a thought. It is not who I am. By doing this, you create space. You begin to realize that thoughts come and go, but your awareness remains. And then, there is gratitude. The human mind has a bias toward negativity. It holds on to worries, stress, and fear more easily than it holds on to joy. But gratitude rewires that tendency. Each night before bed, reflect on one small thing you are grateful for. It could be as simple as a warm meal, a kind word from a stranger, or the fact that you are alive and breathing. Science has now confirmed what Buddhism has taught for thousands of years: gratitude changes the brain. When you focus on gratitude, you are training your mind to see the goodness that already exists in your life. And the more you see goodness, the less space there is for negativity to take root. Another practice that sustains transformation is letting go of self-judgment. Many people struggle with negative thoughts because they judge themselves for having them. They think, I shouldn't feel this way. I should be stronger. Why am I like this? But the more you judge yourself, the more negativity grows. Instead, try this. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend. If a friend came to you feeling sad, would you tell them, "Stop being weak"? No. You would offer kindness. You would say, "It's okay. You're doing your best." So why do we treat ourselves with less compassion than we would treat a friend? The next time a negative thought arises, instead of judging it, acknowledge it with kindness. Say, here is a thought of fear. Here is a thought of doubt. It is okay. It will pass. And finally, there is Sangha, the power of spiritual community. You are not alone in this journey. Every person who has listened to this talk, every person who has left a comment, is walking a similar path. We all experience suffering. We all struggle with our thoughts. But we are also all capable of change. Just knowing that others are on this journey with you can give you strength. That is why community matters. Having people around you who share the same values, who are also working toward peace and wisdom, keeps you grounded. So, here is my final request to you. Pause this video and comment one word that represents what you want to carry forward from this teaching. It could be mindfulness, because you want to be more present in your daily life. Awareness, because you want to see your thoughts clearly and not be controlled by them. Compassion, because you are ready to be kinder to yourself and others. Write it down, because when you put something into words, you make it real. This journey does not end here. Every moment is a chance to begin again. Your mind is not your enemy. It is a tool, one that, with practice, can be transformed into a source of peace rather than suffering. So, take a deep breath, feel this moment, and know that you already have everything you need to be free. The path is yours to walk. May you walk it in peace.